Welcome back to the Fear of Change podcast, and I'm your host, Jennifer Frummel. And here today joining me is Sherry Faus-Smith, author and all things about incredible women and recognizing their journeys, whether they're painful or they're just transformative. Sherry is your girl. And I'm so happy to have you today with us. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be chatting with you today.
Yeah. So we were chatting a little bit before we started talking today about, what about, life is, been lifing and or, educating you as a human, as an individual, as a woman healer, supporting other women and, talking about too your book and how your process in the world of domestic violence and healing has helped so many other women, but then also how your own podcast has helped so many other women about midlife and getting through that. So I don't know where you want to start off today, but I would just love to hear, your maybe moment that you were like, oh, I don't think I can do this, and where do I go from here, and what happened for you?
Oh, thank you for asking. Well, my journey has been a very long journey, to be honest. I started dating unhealthy men at 16 and self abandoned myself. I gave all myself to the different men in my life, and I decided to write my story in my book. And when I published it, I went into that feeling of I was here to help other women. I have a lot of friends who were in abusive relationships. I am now married, celebrating 25 years next month. And I remember saying to him when I was writing some of the chapters that were really hard, and I said, I don't think I want to do this. I don't think I want to publish this. And he said, you don't have to if you don't want to. But he said, writing about your experience is going to be your own healing journey. And whatever happens after that is what happens. And I ended up publishing it. And we had a book party, a launch party, and my husband's band performed.
Oh,
And
how
it was
awesome!
like such a beautiful experience to have this moment that others were celebrating me as I was celebrating other women who were going to be reading and healing and going on their own journey.
Yeah.
And when I think it was like 2005, so this was before I wrote the book, I ended up having a, a major panic attack. I didn't know what was happening. We called the EMTs. A gentleman, the EMT showed up and he's like, you're just having a panic attack. You're okay, darling. I'm like, nope, put me in the ambulance, take me to the hospital. I
Yeah.
want to know what's going on. And the doctor took blood work and she told my husband that I had to stop working, that she
Wow.
was really afraid for my mental health. And that began a journey of 20 years of being agoraphobic.
Wow.
And I've been in therapy to help. Things were not helping. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't trust in myself. And my husband became my safe person.
Wow.
And so I clung on to him.
Yeah.
And recently, I've been doing some more healing work. And something that was told to me was, what if you put away fear and put it into a waiting room and brought curiosity?
Yes.
And what would that look like? And I have to say, now my son and daughter-in-law live 45 minutes from us, and I made a choice to get in the car and drive. I put my dog in the back seat. I gradually went a little further each time. And one day, and this is recent, this is not like a year ago, this is very recent. I got in the car, and when I got to this point, it said, oh, the roundabout, take the third exit. And I'm like, I'm almost at their home. And I kept going. And I kept believing that I've been through so much in my life and I'm putting myself first. And I made it. And then I sent a text to my son because he wasn't at home. And I said, I made it to your house. And he said, I'm so proud of you, Mom. And then I said, I did it. And now every month I want to drive to your home and have dinner with you and Amy. And I had my first dinner with he and Amy last week. And
Oh my gosh.
so it's like talking about, where is that fear? Where are, something that was scary? For 20 years, I have lived in fear. For exactly 1 year after being diagnosed, I didn't leave my home. I didn't get the mail. I didn't go to the store. I was having panic attacks at home. And so what I want to share is that here in midlife, I'm recognizing that I come first.
Yes.
And when I come first, everything else falls into place. And what I want other women to know is that it's never too late. We're not broken.
Yeah.
We're, we give to everyone else.
Yes.
And that can affect our mental health.
Yeah.
It can affect our relationships.
Yeah.
And I'm recognizing that as I'm stepping into my own power,
Yes.
that dynamic is shifting with my husband. And he's now learning how not to be a caretaker. And he gets to be himself too.
Yes. Yes. It's amazing, right? I mean, and I think exactly your story. Thank you so much. I mean, this is just amazing, Sherry. I like to hear that, yeah, all these years where you've kind of kept yourself like a Rapunzel, right? And just felt like I can't go out into the world. And I'm not saying that the world isn't a crazy place. It's definitely got some crazy going on. But you're recognizing that it's about you, that it's about what you want, and it's about what you want to have. And you want to have a relationship with your son and daughter-in-law that you can go to their house and be there and have and feel that presence rather than keeping yourself Rapunzeled away. And I hope it's not offensive that I'm using the term Rapunzel.
No, I love it. I love it.
Because again, you're right. Like, especially when there's been a history of abuse, there is this tendency to be like, okay, well, I'm going to just take care of myself now, and I'm just going to go inside. I think about like my birthing experience with my oldest. I was like, wait, stop, hold on. I know you want me to push, but I know what's going to happen next, and I know I'm not going to like this part. So I'm going to go inside, and I'm going to take care of the inside of me, and I'll push, but I just don't want to be present in the moment, right? And then all of a sudden I woke up. It was like I came up, and I was like, so what is it? Did I have a boy or a girl? And they were like, for real. And I was like, no, for real. I told you I was going away because I was going to go through this, and I needed to go away to go through that.
Yes.
And they're like, you had a son. And I was like, no. And then looked over, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, that's a boy for sure. So it is amazing, right? Like what this can do both for us and against us, right? Because it's a beautiful thing, our mind, but sometimes it's a terrible thing because it can hold us back so much, right? And looking and hearing at your story, it's like, wow, you went through, like you were saying, a lot of iterations of who you are, giving yourself fully to these people who you didn't really know. But there was some part of you, some younger version of the self that really believed that was the thing to do, right? And then even through the domestic violence, you just kept doing. You just kept being in that space. But recognizing now, like, I don't have to do that anymore. I can be safe inside myself. It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. I think that safety is correct.
Yeah.
when we feel safe. And I have never felt safe. I grew up in a chaotic family life. I was looking for love in all the wrong places. I wanted someone to fill my cup, tell me I'm beautiful, tell me they want to be with me. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it just was all wrong. And I stayed. I think I had heard someone say one time, um, why don't you leave? And I think the question should be, why do we stay?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
stay because it's safe, even
Yeah.
though it's not.
Yeah. It's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
And having worked myself, growing up myself in a family system where there was domestic violence as a very young child, I knew that like this was not good for my mom. And I kept saying, Mom, why don't you just go? Like, why don't you just take us? We could go to grandma's or grandpa's. Why don't you just take us? As a 5-year old, I was like, dude, like, I don't think this is good. But she just wasn't ready. She wasn't ready. And I think that that is a thing. It's like, if you don't feel like there's the potential for your safety, other than what it's like I already know how to deal with this. I know when it's going to get bad. That whole domestic violence cycle of violence, the power and control. And it was like, yeah, you knew what you were going to get. You knew what was going to happen, but you didn't know like what was on the other side. And so I guess leaning into that, right? Like what got you to finally leave?
Ooh, that is a loaded question. I think um, my my ex-husband, which is my son's father,
Hmm.
he had a lot of um, addictions,
Ah,
and
okay.
uh, for me, it was I needed to get my son out of here. He was going to whorehouses. He was
Oh,
using pornography. It was very scary to know that
yeah.
that was happening, and the
Yes,
fear for my son.
for
And
sure.
I always felt I could stay as long as it didn't become physical. And when it
Yeah.
became physical was the day I left. And it happened, I don't know, I think stars aligned. My mom showed up, as she always did,
Hmm.
in the mornings to see her grandson. And she noticed something was off. I told her what happened. She said, pack his stuff. You're out. We're going home. And as as nice as it was, when I think back to that, oh, that's great. Mom's going to save me. And at the same
Yeah.
time, I don't want to be dependent. I
Yeah.
don't want to hear them say, I told you so.
Yeah.
Or why didn't you tell us sooner?
Yeah.
Or how dare you allow your son to go through this?
Yeah.
And when I moved in with them it was only 30 days until I found my own place. But in my book, I share this one instance, and it's very, where, there's a lot of shame that comes with leaving.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do it for my son to show him, hey, mom is going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And I remember standing in my parents' the doorway of their bathroom. And I said to my dad, I need you to take me to the courthouse to get a PFA, which is a protection from abuse order,
Yeah.
against my then husband. And he laughed at me. And he said, you'll never get one. And I said, I don't know what you mean. And
Yeah.
he said, he's not that bad.
Oh. Oh my.
And I was like, well, I'm going. And he took me. And I remember there was a male there trying to get a PFA, and he was denied. And he looked at me and he said, don't even try. They're going to deny you. And I was like, oh my gosh, really? And then I filled out all my paperwork. I'm sitting there very
Yeah.
anxious, and the receptionist said, we're giving you a temporary PFA. And I kind of, in a very sarcastic, snarky way, looked at my dad like, see? See? It
Aha.
is that bad, haha, right? And I felt so bad for the gentleman who left.
Yeah.
Because is it because
Right.
he's male and
Right.
this doesn't happen to men?
Right.
And it was temporary. I did have to go to court to make it, final.
Yeah.
Um, and I just remember my parents not fully believing me. My friends believed me, but not my parents. And it
Yeah.
was hurtful. And
Oh
I
man.
think that I did it for my son. And I remember him saying to me when he got older, he said, I don't care what relationship people are in, the children suffer. And he said, you don't see that, but you should never stay in a relationship
Yeah.
for the child. Never. And I thought, how incredible
Yeah.
is he to
Is
like,
he to know that,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So I think that my inner workings started feeling like, oh my gosh, I tried to do something for myself. I was shamed for it. And then I tried to move forward. Oh, and it's not the right decision. Oh, Sherry, you should have done this. Oh, you should have done that. I started listening to everybody else
Yeah.
and I lost who I
Yeah.
was. And now it's
Yes.
like, I'm not doing that anymore. No more. At 57, that stops.
No.
I'm here to show other women you
Yeah.
can stand in your own power. It's
Yes.
all about you and it's not selfish.
Yes.
It's not
Not at all.
selfish. No.
Yeah. And again, I think that this is where, I think it comes to societal norms and, what we've heard for so many years. I think about, how many Marie Antoinettes were there, right? And people were like, yeah, that's awful, but whatever. And other women were just getting in line, It was like, hello, you know what happened to her? Like, why would you go there? Like, just to be with the king? Like, you don't think that that's going to be you next? But I think that societally, it's so important to see that, yeah, we are equal and we have just as much importance. And and again, to your point about that guy, like, I feel horrible for him. I know men who have been, killed in their domestic violence relationships same sex domestic violence relationships. And unfortunately, like, it happens, right? And it shouldn't, right? It doesn't matter that it's a same sex marriage. But yeah, I think this bigger piece though, Sherry, is like that part that you're speaking to, right? Like, there's all these things about the shame and the guilt that comes at us when we admit to this horrible situation we're in. But the reality is much like addiction, domestic violence isn't about like if you're white or brown or black. It knows no boundaries like addiction, and it happens. And I've treated women who are physicians, women who are lawyers, men who are lawyers, and it's happening. The domestic violence or the addiction, it's happening to them, and it's happening in their system. And if they continue to choose to do nothing about it, nothing will change. And so much like your son so poignantly stated, like, there's no child that deserves to grow up with that example of like that this is good and this is normal, because then you're just perpetuating the cycle, and then they learn like that's norms and this is how it should be and this is how it was growing up. So glad to hear that your son had that ability to say that and iterate to you like the gratitude for coming into yourself. And so, yeah, so now like this other part of you that's, leaving agoraphobia behind, right? I'm curious, like, as it's that you're going to his house and spending time with he and his wife in their space, what are some other things that you've been exploring, Sherry, with your newfound freedom to leave your Rapunzel tower?
I love that. So I have been thinking about things that I want to try. My husband bought me a camera a few years ago. I don't know how to use it. It doesn't come with a lot of instructions, but I'm sure
Yeah.
I can look something on YouTube. And I want to go outside and explore. I want to get in the car and go somewhere new and grab my camera and take some nature photographs. And I'm sure they won't be perfect, but I always look at
Okay.
imperfectly imperfect,
You
right? Like,
are.
you know, um, I want to go out on dates by myself. I want to go and have lunch on my own. And what is it like to sit there in the quiet and be safe in my
Yeah.
own body?
Oh,
I I've just been thinking about things that I have missed out on because
yeah.
I have been so afraid to leave my home.
Yeah.
And my husband and I are going to do a little taking day trips or an overnight trip so that I can get accustomed to being away from home and knowing that I'm going to be okay. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I think that, being in these unhealthy relationships previously, to my husband,
Right.
it taught me um, like each one, when you're talking about addiction, I wanted to share that I felt like there were three of them in my life, and each one was a more potent drug. So my first
Ah,
one was puppy love, 16 years old. Oh, this is great. He was possessive, but he didn't touch me. He was
right.
just a jerk.
Yeah.
16, 18 years. He was 18. He
Sure.
was a jerk.
Yeah.
Then I moved on to someone who knew how to play the game, and then we got married, and he stalked me when I left him,
Wow.
threatening me. So that was scary. And I'm like,
Wow.
ooh, okay, couldn't get any worse.
Right.
And then I meet my son's father, marry him, and
Wow.
it's a whole different thing. And I'm like, how did I go from this little thing to the next thing to the next? And
Yeah.
then when I met my current husband, I'm like, oof, is he going to be a good guy or a bad guy? And he was such a good guy that it was almost like there's got to be something wrong with him. My picker has not picked the right thing for so long. Is he going to be
Right.
the right guy? And
Yeah.
I had to rewire almost my
Yeah.
brain into thinking there are really good guys out there, and it's
There are.
okay. He's
Yeah.
he's gonna be a good guy, and
Yeah.
I almost sabotaged it because I was used to the unhealthy,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
turning out that 25 years later we've had our bumps.
Sure.
Every marriage does.
Yeah.
Um, but we're in it and we're
Yeah.
willing to work through it and figure it
Yeah.
out together. So,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
it is so great, to be able to go through all of those iterations about, again, of yourself connected in a relationship, and to not end up in like the frontal lobe going like, oh, it's my fault, I deserve this. I love the fact that you still were like thinking love is out there for you and like a partnership is out there for you, and you didn't just give up, because I know plenty of people who've just said, yeah, it's just not feasible, it's not for me. And I'm like, no, no, like you got to lean back into it. So you kept leaning in and then going, all right, well, what's going to show up? I love that. So in your work with other women, I mean, I'd love to hear a little bit about, how you approach that work in terms of, I think it was like coming home. Was it coming home to yourself or coming home?
Yeah, so when I work with women, a lot of them come to me. They're just confused, like we all are. We get to a point in our lives where it's like, what's next? Is this it?
Yeah.
Do I just pack it in and there's nothing left?
Right.
And I'm helping them tap into that part of them of what if they think back to when they were young, what did they like to do? And something that had come up for me when I share with them is the lightning bugs. I
Oh, yeah.
lived in a development where there are a lot of cornfields, and I would get a jar, and my dad would like poke holes in the top of the
Yeah.
lid, and I would grab them, and I'd put them in there, and there'd be grass, and I used to love watching them light up.
Yeah.
And then I would release them because obviously I didn't want them to die inside my
Right,
jar.
right.
But it's like, what did we do when we were younger where there was zero responsibility and we were actually having fun?
Yes.
And that is how I help them build back into, well, at your age, what would you like to do? Is it taking your shoes off and running through blades of grass? Is it sitting outside with sidewalk chalk or grabbing a Starbucks coffee and just
Right.
sitting in your car for 5 minutes?
Right.
It's like, where is that joy? Where is that fun? We don't, as you know, we don't wake up joyful. It's not like, oh, I'm just like so excited for the day to begin, right?
Right. Right.
And it is making the change and finding the little tiny sparks during the day
Yeah.
that are like, ooh, that tingled, that
Yeah.
felt good, and then leaning in to
Yeah.
what would that be like if
Yeah.
you actually dove in. And I think that I'm leaning more into that, knowing that I got past that agoraphobia. That
Yes.
I'm safe, I'm okay, we can have fun, we can dance in the rain, we can
Yeah.
laugh, we can joke. That there is a really good life out there. It
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
a good life. If I can get through 3 unhealthy relationships where I didn't know if I was going to survive,
Yeah.
and here I am able to share my story,
Yeah.
life is good.
A
It
hundred
is
percent.
good.
100%. And I think what you're really speaking to too is this acknowledgement of gratitude for, for what we have and who we are and the life we have in front of us, and I think so many of us have been like, again, kind of Rapunzel towered in some way, shape, or form by saying, well, I'm a mom, or, we don't have the money, or whatever. It's a mindset of not acknowledging that the good stuff is for me too. And again, the good stuff doesn't mean I'm pulling up in a big Maserati and, I only wear stuff that Prada sends me, right? Like, the good stuff is finding the lightning bugs. It is watching the hover of a what are those birds? Hummingbirds.
Hummingbirds.
And just sitting and breathing and being and knowing that you have that opportunity, like, that is so beautiful, and it's so simple, and it doesn't cost anything, to be able to do that. And it's part of the work that I like to do with regards to helping people understand that their chakra energy cycles are, when they're aligned, like, they're telling you to go and be yourself. And when they're misaligned, that's also sending you a message of, this is something that you should explore for you. And again, so many women have believed like it's not an option for me. I remember when I had my son, my mom said, what is going on? You act like you have no child. You're like doing stuff with him, and he's a baby, and you're just like doing stuff. You're taking him places. And I was like, isn't that what you're supposed to do? And she was like, it's not what I did. And I was like, right. But again, you were much younger. I don't know how your mom was, but like, I want to just be me, and I want to introduce this life to my child, and this is what I'm going to do with it, and she has learned, right, from that, from my experience of like, wow, that is a different way of mothering. That doesn't have to be where you're just constantly suffering, so I'm gonna say this, and I'm just gonna kind of like toss it to you, Sherry. One of the things that I had always thought when I turned 25, I was like, I was in love with Mount Everest, and just thought like, how cool is that? And what if I were like a mountaineer and I like got to go explore Mount Everest in that country of Nepal? I didn't really want to go on the China side. And I just was like, wow, like that would be so awesome. And so for a while, I would say to my husband and my family, like, when I turn 50, I'm going to hike to the base camp of Mount Everest. And they would, pass me the potatoes. Yeah, yeah, sure, okay, yeah. I'm like, no, 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 we're really going to need help. My husband and I were going to go together, you know, or, pass
Sorry.
me to, get me to get to Nepal somehow, way, shape, or form. And as life would have it, we had some struggles going on in our marriage at the time. And a friend of ours was retiring. So we went to the retirement party. And at the retirement party, I learned that his sister was going to be going to Nepal. And I was like, wait a second. She's 63. Like, well, wait, like I'm 50. Like, I really want to do this. And so I talked to her, processed with her, and she came back in November and she was like, Jennifer, do not stop yourself. Do not, let the world pass you by. Go. And I was like, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could leave my kids and my husband right now, given where we're at. And she was like, Jen, if you've got the opportunity, I just think you need to do it. And I did it. And I hiked to Mount Everest Base Camp. I was by myself with a Sherpa and a guide, and I didn't speak the language, but I did it. And I had a whole bunch of things happen to me along the way, but I did it. And I came back, and all I could think was how much I wanted to summit something, how much I wanted to get higher, right, than just the base camp. And I was crying on the flight home. And I came in the house and said to my husband, I was like, I need to go back and I need to summit something. And he was like, if you need to do this once a year, or like some kind of trek like this once a year, like, I think you should do it. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I really think you should do it. And so for the last 4 years, I have done a trek in the mountains, be it the Himalayas or the backcountry of New Mexico. And I have to say, Sherry, like, I want that for you. So my loving challenge to you is not just to think about those, like the little things, but to think about like when that little girl that you once were is like really sitting there at night, like going like, man, I would love to know what that's like. I would love to see what would happen if you were to give that to yourself. And again, like maybe for you it is just going to your sons, but maybe there is something more than that. And, I would want you to find your mountaintop.
I love that. Thank you. I love your story. It gave me goosebumps. It like encourages me and makes me want to explore more. Like hearing your story, it's like there is more. There is more
Yeah.
out there that I
Yeah.
want to do.
Yeah.
And this just hearing that encouragement was like, okay, Sherry, what are you gonna do? Like
Yeah.
what it's exciting me to think about
Yeah.
the things that the potential of what is
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, well, I would love to meet back up with you, in another episode and just check in, see how that's going. But outside of that, just would love to, stay connected. I feel like collaborations are so important, and recognizing, where you are versus where I am, like we all could connect in those different parts of the country that we all live in, and I really would love to do that.
Me too. I would love that.
Well, this is so great spending time together, and I really look forward to our ongoing collaboration and connection.
Me too. This has been lovely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.